All right, welcome. Welcome everybody to another Paper Gold member win. I am talking to one of our eldest, and I don't mean age, I mean one of our most early supporters. We're talking to Keith, and Keith has a very interesting story, not about one book, but about two books that he sold, the same title twice, but in two different ways. But we're going to work backwards to forward here. Keith, you recently sold a Disney book for $1,500. This is a book that I know is out there in the wild. People have probably seen it when they see the picture of this. So tell us a little bit about the book, the second book, and then we'll go backwards on that.
So the second book, it's Walt Disney book, 1973, The Junior Woodchuck's Guide.
Junior Woodchuck's Guide.
Anybody that grew up watching DuckTales, Huey, Dewey, and Louie, this is the book they carried around with them because they were junior woodchucks. And I never knew that it was an actual real book that Disney put out in the 70s, but it's kind of like Disney's version of the Scouts, the Boy Scouts or whatever. And yeah, so I mean, we just sold this one. We're talking. You said you want me to talk about the latest.
Well, here's what happened. You sold this. You sold it for $1,500, but this story actually is a year in the making because you sold the same book a year ago, about a year ago. And how much did that first copy sell for?
$1,500.
So you priced it right, you comped it right, it sold for the same price. But the first time you sold it, you found it where?
The bins. Goodwill.
At the bins. So you probably paid 50 cents to $1 for it.
I paid $1 for it. It was literally just sitting there like this. And what caught my eye was it was Disney. It had, it was Disney, it was hardback, and it's in really good shape, and it was just sitting there. And my gut told me, hey, this is something. And I looked it up. I remember comping it on my eBay app on my phone. And there was one that recently sold for $746. And there was a second one 6 months prior said it sold for $7,000.
Right.
And that's why when we started PaperGold, I literally put that book. It was sitting beside my bed. I didn't know what to do with it because I was like, I would be happy with 700, but there was also a big difference between 700 and 7,000. Yeah. And I remember you distinctly told me in one of the first PaperGold meetings, you're like, just post it, just list it. And you were like, if I gave you $1,000 for it today, would you take it? And I said, yeah. And you're like, well, then list it for 15. And it sold within 48 hours.
Right, which is a great story because even though you made a great sale on that first book, because it sold so quickly, I know as a bookseller myself, you were like, did I give it away too cheap? I know you don't want to say that, but I know it's there.
Right.
What makes this interesting, though, this story is so phenomenal, is you sold it, you made great money, it was a great story, but then you started scouting and hunting for this book.
Yeah.
And you found another copy, you bought it for a couple $100, and now this one took longer to sell. It wasn't 48 hours. How long did this one take to sell?
I think I found it in March, so about 10 months.
Right, so almost a year on that second one, while the first one sold in 48 hours, which goes to show you the market to buy this book is not that deep. It's a very niche book.
It is.
But it is a highly desirable book. But you have perfectly found the price point. Even though someone may have sold it for a little bit more money, you have found the price point for which this book can sell for a very nice amount of money.
Yeah, because what I did is I listed the second one for $2,500 because I was like, we were like, well, maybe it's worth more.
A little higher.
Yeah. So it sat at $2,500 for, I'd say, a good 4 or 5 months. And then I was like, well, it's not really, I had a lot of watchers on it. And people were offering me, I mean, right off the bat, I had an offer for like $400, and then I got another one for like $600. I was like, no, I'm just going to hold out because I think, it's worth it.
I kept telling you to hold out. I kept saying, hold out. You're going to get your number.
Well, what's interesting is that a couple copies. So this particular title, you'll see copies come and go. You'll see them in really good condition, and you'll see them in really bad condition. I mean, there was a guy that had a really trashed copy that, I mean, he was asking a couple $100 for it. He probably sold it for $75 to $100. Probably mainly, I would say, probably just for the artwork inside. Even if it's trashed, I think it's worth more, like to a collector.
Right.
But what ended up happening, I think, on this one is that all the other copies sold out, and then somebody with a pristine copy, and I will say it is in better condition than the one I had, but they're asking $7,500 for it. So what happened, my theory is now that one was sitting at $7,500. Now mine is the cheapest and the only other one at $1,500, and so it was a bargain at $1,500.
Your gut instinct on this, is it the Disney collector buying this, or is it the Boy Scout collector buying this?
Well, the second copy went to California, so I would maybe say Disney, but I don't know. I mean, you know how this goes. It's there's things about it. There's also things in that particular book that did not age well.
Yes.
There's a lot of Native American depictions of Disney characters smoking things.
Right.
So I think
types and things. Sure.
Yeah. So it's like, I think it's a little, what do you call it? Risque,
right.
But so things just do that.
I know this for a fact. And when you posted the first picture of this book in the group, people were like, "Oh, I've seen that book."
Yeah.
And so they had $1,000 or so in their hands without realizing it. So when we post a picture of this book twice now, people are going to keep their eyes out and they're going to thank you for this. But now the third part of this interesting story is you have now said, you've declared that if you sell a third copy of this book, now you're on video.
I hold to this. You can show me this video.
If you sell a third copy of this book, you are going to get a woodchuck tattoo somewhere in an exposed part of your body.
Absolutely. I got some room right here. I got some clear right behind the family crest here. I mean, hey, why not? I mean, yeah, why not? It's a it's a fun story to tell. I mean, like, people, I'll tell you this, I used to never look through children's books. I mean, there are good, there's some great children's books, and I know a lot of people pass over them, but there ain't a children's book section I don't look at. And I know I'm looking for one book in particular, but there's a lot of, it's just, you never know. I mean, like, I know before we started recording, I just showed you a book that I'd never heard of and looked at it, and it's just like, you're never surprised. And now it's like that book will always be on my radar.
But you clearly, not only do you have the book hunter's instinct, but you also have the visceral, you have the book hunter's eye. You know what a strange book and a strange title looks like. And this is what makes you so good at prospecting these books. You've been with PaperGold over a year now. And you've had some great sales. What advice would you give to people, not in the group, but to people who are interested in book hunting like you do, and need a few tips along the way? Is there a tip that you would give people?
Yeah, I would say, number one, the more obscure, the better. That doesn't always mean it's a banger,
right?
But like, just the more weird it is, I think I also look for, well, can I show them this?
Sure,
this one you were
I'm
looking
sure
at?
We're going to do a video on one of these books sooner or later.
So, came across two of these books. I did an estate sale pickup. This was just in a group of books. But as I'm going through the books, whenever I go do a pickup or whatever, I'm throwing books to the side, like, oh, that's my gut. It just tells me whatever. Mechanics of the Pole Vault.
Very niche.
Very niche. And I always, this is another thing. This is a tip. This is a pro tip. Always look for an autograph. Always. Signed by the author right there.
Beautiful.
But I keep digging through the books, and then I find Mechanics of the Pole Vault. This is 1980, and then I notice it's for the Olympics.
Right.
So, but then I start looking through it, same guy, and it's signed, but he didn't sign it in the front. Now he signed it in the back. So I've got 2 copies of this now, Mechanics of the Pole Vault. That's just weird. And those are niche, and there's not a lot of people. And like, you'd actually recommend sell both of these together because the same person's going to want both of those. And then this is the most recent. I just picked this up, and I might actually read this one first because it's so cool. But I just saw this, and it just said, "Robbing banks banks was my business." And it's a true story about a guy from the Panhandle of Texas who robbed banks, and it's a small press. That's another thing I would say. Paladuro Press.
Right. Look for the small publishers you've never heard of before.
Small publishers, because they're not going to do a big run. They're not. Those are going to be pretty small, pretty rare. But the other thing was on this one, it had like Machine Gun Kelly, Pretty Boy Floyd, all the old gangsters and stuff, and so just kind of cool. But just the weirder stuff. They're even like, I would say another one I found at the bins. I've had really good look at the bins. People talk, and I don't get in there and throw elbows with people, but you just go in there and look. I found an old copy, a beat up, water stained, really rough copy of Dracula by Bram Stoker, and it was 1929.
Right, but most people going to the bins for books are scanning barcodes. You are doing. Yep. You are taking the older booksellers approach, looking for non-barcode books, and that's playing chess when everybody else is playing checkers.
Yeah.
And that's what all the PaperGold, all the people in the group, they know this. This is how we play chess. We look for those non-barcode books.
Yeah. And I mean, I'll tell you this, just even in the, say, a little over a year since PaperGold, I would say, our apps have gotten even better at scanning, like image search. Between Google, eBay, and WorthPoint, I mean, I can find out anything probably in about 30 seconds of whether or not it's, you can get a good idea of whether it's worth it or not. But
well, I'm going to promise the audience now. I know that you're going to sell the Woodchuck book again this year. I know you're going to find it, and I know you're going to sell it. So the next time we do this video, it will be live at a tattoo shop. This will be a PaperGold first. It'll be live at a tattoo shop.
Hey.
And everybody can come in and make comments on your Woodchuck tattoo.
Do it.
But until that time, I'm going to ask you to do something for PaperGold that I've sort of hinted at before. You're going to take one of those guitars off the wall sometime soon, and you are going to make a PaperGold theme song.
PaperGold.
So I want to see that in the next 60 days.
All right. I can do that.
Well, thank you for your time. You are a great and loving member of this group, this community, this family we built, and you've been with us so long. It's been such a joy to watch the ups and the downs. We get downs too, but just to watch the journey. I'm so glad I'm a passenger in the car with you on this journey.
Well, and I appreciate you too, Max. I mean, like you and everybody else in the group are always so helpful. And, I would also just say to the, people out there, you don't have to do this full time. I mean, this is not my full time job. It's really, I have ADHD, and it's kind of, it's one of those things that just helps me to take my mind off of something else. And, it's a lot of fun.
You love to do it. That it's a hobby, but a hobby that pays you money. And hunting for PaperGold, as we say, is a great thing to do.
I hunt woodchucks, and
watch out, woodchucks. Keith's coming for you.
That's right.
Well, thank you very much, Keith. We will see you on Thursday night as always, and we'll look forward to seeing you again.
All right, thanks, Max.
Bye-bye.